Representative Raja Krishnamoorthi. Congressman Krishnamoorthi represents the 8th District of Illinois, which includes Chicago's west and northwest suburbs. He serves on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Crisis, the Committee on Oversight and Reform, and as chairman of its Subcommittee on Economic and Consumer Policy. He's also vice chair of the LGBTQ+ Equality Caucus, co-chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus Immigration Task Force, and is an assistant whip for the Democratic Caucus. More importantly, for anyone who's ever met Congressman Krishnamoorthi, he's just a really good person who is genuinely interested in the voices of the community and will listen to all of our concerns. So without any further delay, I'd like to introduce Congressman Krishnamoorthi.
Hi everybody, I'm Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi of the 8th District of Illinois. I just want to thank you so much for allowing me to address you and the launch of the Hindu Democratic Coalition of the DNC. I am so honored to be able to address you. As a Hindu American, I know that our values align with Democrats. We believe in freedom of religion. We believe that everybody should have a shot at the American dream. And we also believe that nobody should be left behind. And that is what it means to be a Democrat as well. I had Hindu Americans, along with numerous other people of different faiths, support me in my election to Congress and my re-elections. And they're people that are very active in our party. And we have to do everything we can to cultivate and nurture more of that enthusiasm and provide resources and support to make sure they're effective in getting more people elected to offices at every level of government, and in making sure that we get everyone to vote. That is incredibly important. So I want to say thank you for launching this coalition. Count on me as an ally, and thank you for allowing me to address you today.
Thank you again, Congressman Krishnamoorthi. Our next speaker needs no introduction among Asian American Democrats and Democrats across the country. She has been a trailblazing voice for the AAPI community for years and is the proud chair of the AAPI caucus in the DNC. I am so honored to introduce my friend, Leong-Hong, who has been a trailblazing warrior who has helped to make the AAPI community a valued part of the Democratic Party, and more importantly, has fought to make sure our Hindu community is a voice within the larger AAPI caucus. Thank you, Belle, and without any further delay, give the floor to you.
Thank you so very much, Murali, for that wonderful introduction, and I love you, my friend. And thank you very much for all of your efforts for making this happen. Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good friends. I am so honored and delighted to be here with you tonight. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the leaders here tonight that made this event happen. Murali, of course, Sohini Sirka, Nikki Shah, Priya Radhakrishnan, and all of you whose name I may have failed to mention. But I want to tell you how much I appreciate what you have done. I want to tell you that we had this conversation about getting a Hindu Democratic Coalition started only a few months ago. And from the time that we had that first conversation, which I think it was just the spring, to just a few months ago to today, you make this happen. I can't tell you what a wonderful and exciting organization this is going to be. What you have been able to accomplish is truly, truly worthy of celebration. And most importantly, you have earned the respect and admiration of our entire community. As the chair of the DNC AAPI caucus, I am the national chair of our AAPI Democrats. I have the honor and the privilege of representing AAPIs across the nation. It gives me enormous pleasure to welcome you as part of our DNC extended family. As a newly formed Hindu Democratic Coalition, you represent a very important part of our AAPI electorate. So it gives me that all the more joy to be able to help launch this effort. Hindu Americans represent an important voting bloc for our party, and you come at a time when every single vote is most needed. And to say that we finally are able to recognize all of your efforts behind the scene, I can tell you how happy that makes me. You bring together a very powerful faith-based voting bloc, and we welcome you with open arms and enthusiasm. As some of you may know, in the last 10 years or so, I started encouraging our community to organize into state and local caucuses, and we have been able to increase the number from 5 to 25 today. With the addition of the Hindu Democratic Coalition, we have now grown to 26. Last year, in the height of the presidential election cycle, the Biden campaign recognized and nurtured 14 affinity groups under the umbrella of AAPIs for Biden, which was led, this whole effort, by the way, was led by Hindu American Amit Yani. After President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were elected, we welcomed these 14 affinity groups under the umbrella of the DNC family. Today, HDC joins our DNC family as a welcome addition. Your participation will be absolutely critical, not only in the midterm, but right now in the New Jersey and Virginia elections, which are turning to be very, very close. This will be a very tough election, and it is a presage of things to come in the midterm. So we're just so delighted that you're going to be part of this effort. Once again, congratulations and many, many thanks to all the leaders for making this Hindu Democratic Coalition into a reality in a matter of few months. And most of all, thank you for your friendship, and thank you for having me part of this exciting launch. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much, Belle, for that, those kind words, and for sharing your thoughts today with us, and for, of course, your support alongside this initiative. And with that, namaste. My name is Priya Radhakrishnan, and I'm going to introduce for you Eric Salcedo. Eric has been the AAPI Outreach Director for the Democratic National Committee since May, and has worked to build the DNC's outreach to AAPI voters of all backgrounds. He previously worked at the Midwest Coalition's director for the Biden campaign. Afterwards, he served as the agency engagement liaison on the EPA agency review team for the Biden-Harris transition. Prior to 2020, Eric was the national fear director for the APIA Vote, a national nonpartisan organization that promotes the civic and electoral engagement of Asian American, Native American, and Pacific Islander communities. He has also served as the Community Outreach Director at the Office of Illinois Attorney General. And with that, I hand it off to Eric.
Thank you, Priya. Good evening, everyone. It is an honor and privilege to be with you on this auspicious occasion when we formally launched the Hindu Democratic Coalition. A little bit about me. I am born and raised in the great state of New Jersey. And it is because of the Hindu community here in New Jersey that as a young person, I first started creating this notion of being Asian American, and later on Asian American and Pacific Islander. As many of you know, in the 80s, there were hate groups targeting Hindu women wearing bindis, and then later on just targeting South Asian men in Jersey City and beating them. I knew at an early age that violence against any of our communities is violence against all of our communities. And the only way to stand up and push back against such violence is for all of our communities, all of our AAPI communities to come together, because only together do we have strength in numbers to fight back against hate. And we are doing that now, formally tonight, in launching this coalition, because as Bell had said earlier, the New Jersey and Virginia elections are just around the corner. We have substantial Hindu communities in both of these states, and we need your help to contact any friends or family members in those states and remind them how important it is to vote again in this election. And then after that, in 2022, as Chair Harrison mentioned, we have to answer the bell once again, because states like Georgia, Arizona, Florida, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Texas, they're all going to be crucial in terms of holding on to Congress, in terms of the Senate and the House. So we need to once again come together, because unfortunately, folks, hate is once again on the ballot. Although we defeated Trump in 2020, we see Trumpism festering and growing, and they're going to be coming back with a vengeance. So we have to be ready to stop them once again. So I look forward to working with you. Bell and I are extremely excited, because on behalf of the Democratic Party, the DNC, welcome. As a fellow member of the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, we have your back. We've always had your back. We've always had each other's back, because this is how we need to fight and survive and thrive. So thank you so much. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Murali, Priya, Nikki, Sonali, thank you so much. And I look forward to winning again in 21 and 22 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. We look forward to working with you as well, moving forward. As for our next introduction, we have State Representative Padma Kuppa. She is serving her second term representing Michigan's 41st House District, which encompasses the cities of Troy and Clawson. Representative Kuppa champions issues for several caucuses, including the Progressive Women's Caucus, the Firearm Safety and Violence Prevention Caucus, the Poverty and Homelessness Caucus, and the Oakland County Caucus. She also serves as historian of the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus and she co-chairs both the Asian Pacific American Caucus and the Bipartisan House Breakfast Group. Take it away.
Hello, I'm Padma Kuppa, representative from Michigan's 41st House District. I represent the Troy and Clawson. I want to say, I found a story. Let me tell you a story. I really never liked very people. I never liked to consider myself to belong to one party or another. After all, I was busy navigating life as an American woman or American youth legislator. I had to talk. I was wanting to do that to help you.
Hi, Padma. We're having a little trouble hearing you. Hi, Padma, can you hear me? Apologies for that. We were unable to hear her. Perhaps we can come back to her. Shall we make the next introduction? I can pass it on to Shohini to make the next introduction, but perhaps we can come back to Representative Kuppa.
Namaste. Apologies for those technical difficulties. We will definitely come back to Representative Kuppa-ji. I would now like to introduce Senator Vin Gopal. Actually, I am so sorry for the confusion. Okay, I'd actually like to first introduce Nish Acharya. So Nishji is currently a senior fellow at the Clinton Foundation, a senior fellow at the Center for the American Progress, and leads Equal Innovation. He was appointed by President Obama as the Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship and Senior Advisor to the Secretary of Commerce. He led the president's efforts to nurture economic growth through innovation, entrepreneurship, and commercialization. As part of his work, Nishith managed the President's National Advisory Council on Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Nishith is also served 5 years as presidential appointee in the Clinton administration. Thank you so much, Nishith, for being a part of this today.
Sohini, Priya, and Murli, thank you very much for leading the effort and getting this going. And I'm very honored to join the group tonight and speak. What I'm so excited about with this group is that we finally have the muscle and the institutional support to work on the things that many of us have been working on independently for over 20 years now. I was in the Clinton administration when there's just a few of us who are Hindu Americans who are serving. But after the president visited India in 2000, we finally sort of decided it was time to take the energy of that trip and see if we can do something to mark our presence here the way so many other communities have done. And so we were able to convince President Clinton to do the first proclamation of the Diwali as a holiday. And that was just very exciting because there we were on the global stage with a proclamation from the United States president. That tradition of a proclamation continued for many years through the Bush presidency, and then President Obama, Vice President Biden jumped it up a notch with a great event at the White House, which included the Diya ceremony, included shlokas and traditions, cultural traditions from Diwali, and really took it up a notch. In addition, we expect the Biden administration to continue that and go back to that once the concerns about COVID are allayed, and hopefully this year, if not this year, next year. And I want to mention just two side events about why working with the administration is so important. In year 2000, one of the people who helped me write the proclamation was Josh Gottheimer, who many of you now know is a representative from New Jersey and is fully embraced by his Indian American community there. And in 2010, one of the people who was at the Diwali event was Representative Haley Stevens, who was in the Obama administration, is now representative from Padma's region of Michigan. And most recently, when Haley was married, she actually had a Hindu ceremony that her and her husband participated in that was hosted by the Hindu American community in Michigan. So the people we work with in the administration are key partners as we move towards legislation and we move towards getting things happen at the local level. And I want you to remember that because there's over 120 Hindu Americans serving in the Biden administration, starting with our wonderful vice president and moving throughout the agencies and throughout the White House. And so I think there's an exciting opportunity there. One of the things we saw when India had the unfortunate surge of COVID a few months ago is that there were so many social service agencies, so many nonprofits, Hindu American organizations here associated with temples and others who mobilized quickly and raised over $1 billion worth of cash and resources for India. And for many of them, that was their first time working with USAID or with the Department of Health and Human Services. And we really need to codify that. And I think having the muscle of the Hindu Democratic Coalition and people working on mobilizing our community is going to be great to work in terms of working hand in hand with the administration moving forward. So my experience working with the Clinton administration and the Obama administration taught me that being in the administration is a perch through which you can achieve things for your community. And I believe that now it's not just three of us as it was in 2000. There's over 120, and the power of numbers is in our favor. And we're excited to put the needs of our community on the agenda and also move it to the local level, as many of you are doing with school districts and zoning and all these different things that we can do as Hindu Americans. And it's very exciting that the DNC is now recognizing our community, and we're going to be putting some institutional support and structure and muscle really around this. It really comes back to building our political muscles. And it's my privilege to join you today, and I'm very excited for this project. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nishith, for that, for those words. We're going to bring it back to Representative Kuppa, and she will do that again.
Sorry about that. Namaste and hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me this time. Can you all hear me? Okay, wonderful. I'm Padma Kuppa. I'm the state representative for Michigan's 41st House District. I serve the communities of Troy and Clawson, and I'm really glad to be here after a long day in the legislature here during Navratri. I want to tell you a story because Hindus teach by telling stories, like people of many other faiths. So I'll tell you a story about how I ended up here. I wasn't very political. I never really considered myself to belong to one party or another. After all, I was busy navigating life as an ABCD squared, as my husband calls me. I was born in India. I went to preschool or LKG in Bhilai. Then I started kindergarten in Smithtown, New York. I finished 10th grade at Eleanor Roosevelt High School in Greenbelt, Maryland, and graduated high school in Hyderabad and then college in NIT Warangal. In 1988, I arrived as a foreign student to the country that I felt was home. The constant throughout all these journeys was my faith, being Hindu. It anchored me. So when someone asked me to run for office over a decade ago, and when now Congressman Tlaib suggested that I run for State House in December of 2013, I thought people were kidding. I was into interfaith dialogue and building relationships across difference and religious divides. Harvard even taught about me and how I started the Troy Interfaith Group, making my parents really proud. I went to a seminary, the Ecumenical Theological Seminary in Detroit, to have a better idea of how to engage in interreligious understanding, and used to talk to my pastor friends about why the binary of politics was all wrong for a peace activist like me and someone who promoted pluralism. But then in 2017, Betsy DeVos was chosen as the nominee for the US Secretary of Education. After numerous calls to senators around the country through the confirmation process and a meaningful conversation with my father, I remembered that all politics are local. If I wanted to ensure that all children got a great education, that we supported something that is the backbone of our economy, I needed to run for State House and help make sure that we funded public schools and higher education. I knew that I had to pick a team and that I needed an auspicious day. So I called my mom, and 4 years ago, on a full moon day in October, I registered to be a Democrat. The rest, as they say, is history. As the first Democrat to represent this district and the first and only Hindu in the Michigan legislature, I flipped this House seat in 2018 and got reelected with a double-digit margin in 2020. All this in spite of having no political background. I'm a mechanical engineer who came to the US with a student visa, 2 suitcases, and $250. I moved to Michigan more than 2 decades ago to work in the auto industry and raise my family. I came for the cars and stayed for the Great Lakes. While focusing on community service for decades along my responsibilities as a wife, mother, and working professional, and serving in the State House for the past several years, I have faced propaganda and relentless attacks. However, my pursuit of dharma inspires me to stay strong and stand very tall every day. It is my dharma to ensure that we educate all our children, no matter where they live or who their parents are, opening doors to opportunity. I consider that our planet is sacred. She is Mother Bhumi, after all. Let's work to protect our planet, our water supply, our Great Lakes, and other natural resources, and adequately address climate change. Hinduism's foundational value of pluralism, ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti, is what enables me to view things from multiple perspectives and gives me an edge, whether in listening or responding to a wide variety of constituent concerns or crafting policy involving a wide range of stakeholders. And it is a commitment to the core value that we are all part of the divine family, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that I work for all people in my district and my state. We are all in the same storm. Some people have yachts, some people have rowboats, some have nothing at all. We need to build a strong economy by lifting all boats, all people, especially those who are vulnerable. As the first and only Indian American woman and a woman of color in a frontline or majority making district, I seek the Shakti within to withstand the hate and bias whether it's domestic or international. I champion legislation that empowers women, addressing period poverty by eliminating the tampon tax. Newsflash from Lansing, we just passed it in the House today to eliminate tampon tax. We also promote the right to reproductive health care, and I co-chair the Equal Pay Task Force. When we say dasa dasa anudasa, serving others is the highest service. As Democrats, as Hindus, it is our dharma to articulate these values, help flip more seats like mine, and elect more candidates who share these democratic values. Thank you so much for being here with me and for allowing me to serve and to be here with all of you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much, Representative Kuppa, for sharing your remarks with us today and for all the work you do to represent Hindu Americans. My name is Shohini Sharkar, and it's my pleasure to introduce New Jersey Senator Vin Gopal ji. Senator Gopal serves as Senate Majority Conference Leader and Chairman of the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. He also serves as Vice Chair of the Senate Higher Education Committee and is a member of the Health, Human Services, and Senior Citizens Committee. During his first term in State Senate, Senator Gopal has worked tirelessly across party lines to champion the causes of working families in Monmouth County, small business owners, students, and seniors. He has pushed for successful funding for schools, women's healthcare facilities, mental health support, along with many other key areas of funding support. Thank you so much, Senator Gopal, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Sahini. It's good to be with my colleagues here and across the country, supporting their respective legislative roles. And thank you to Dr. Balaji for inviting me to say a few words. So I am the first Hindu American, first Indian American senator elected in the history of New Jersey. New Jersey has a very fast growing Hindu population. One of the fastest growings anywhere in the country. I also have the honor of serving on the Congressional Redistricting Committee here in New Jersey, so I've been learning a lot about the census and map-making process, and during that process, I've really seen not just the growth of Hindu Americans, but Indian Americans in the last 10 years. For those of you who are familiar with New Jersey, it's not just Edison and Woodbridge, but really all over the state. We have seen an increase of Hindu Americans getting involved in all aspects of government. And I think when I looked at my own campaign, I ran in a district which is in central New Jersey, where I was born and raised, and I'm the first Democrat to represent that district in 30 years. It's predominantly a Republican district, still is. I don't have a lot of Indian Americans or Hindu Americans as a whole in my district. My district is actually almost 75% white, next followed by 10% Black, 8% Hispanic, and some mixed. And the Asian population as a whole makes up about 1%. So one of the things I had to do was really reach out to Hindu Americans all across the state of New Jersey to help with my campaign, who didn't necessarily live in my district. And what I found was an incredible wealth of knowledge across different industries, whether it be medicine or academia or engineering or small business, and so many other areas who really come and helped me financially in other ways. So, you know, when I took the oath, the first senator to take the oath on the Gita 4 years ago, I'm reminded constantly of the teachings and philosophies of Hinduism, and specifically in this time of celebrating Diwali, where we're signifying good over evil, righteousness over treachery, truth over falsehood, and light over darkness. I think that is a time in our country, specifically for me as a Democrat and as a Hindu American, where we see so much going across our world of people fighting who don't even know each other. People go on Facebook and they're fighting over masks and vaccines and saying awful things about people who don't even know each other. And that's why I take to my Hindu faith of treating everybody with love and dignity and respect. And I think that's part of our mission here. So we've launched through a number of partnerships a large internship program where we've been placing Indian American, South Asian, Hindu American students who are interested in politics in different internships with federal, state, and local officials across New Jersey. And I think we need to do a lot more of that. We need to start seeing folks who may be a future superintendent of schools or college president or police chief, and really start tackling some of these industries that we as Hindu Americans long have not. So I'm incredibly grateful for the Hindu Democratic Coalition for all they do. As Democrats, we are truly the party of inclusion. We are truly the party of bringing everyone together. And I think that's really common in the teachings of Hinduism, which is always about treating everybody with love, respect, dignity, and civility. So it's an honor to be here. We have a lot of work to do in the years ahead. It's amazing. I think back a couple of years ago when there may be a handful of Hindu elected officials. I think of Kumar Barb and Maryland's who's still there, Upendra Shivakula from New Jersey. You could name them all on one hand, and now we're seeing every year record-breaking number of Hindu Americans and Indian Americans getting elected to all sorts of political offices at the local, state, and now, of course, federal levels. So I look forward to working with the Hindu Democratic Coalition in the months and years ahead, and I want to thank everyone for doing everything they can to making our world just a little bit more inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gopal, for those remarks. My name is Nikki Shah. Namaste. Our next speaker is Assemblywoman Jenifer Rajkumar. She is the first generation American in her family. Assemblywoman Rajkumar is a civil rights lawyer, and she has also taught as a professor at CUNY. Assemblywoman Rajkumar graduated from Stanford Law School with distinction for her pro bono legal work on behalf of vulnerable individuals. She was appointed by the Governor of New York as the Director of Immigration Affairs for New York State. Last year, Assemblywoman Rajkumar made history as the first Hindu American woman ever to be elected to a state office in New York. With no further ado, please have the stage, Assemblywoman Jenifer Rajkumar.
Thank you, and good evening to all my fellow Democrats all across America. My name is Jenifer Rajkumar, and I am the first Hindu American ever elected to a government office in New York State, but definitely not the last one. Tonight is the launch of the Hindu Democratic Coalition of the Democratic Party. I am so excited for the emerging Hindu American community and its contributions to the United States of America and to the Democratic Party. My own parents came to the United States from India with just $300 and a suitcase. My mom was born in a mud hut in India. And my mom was always proud to be in America. And she would proudly say, "This is a Democratic household." So whenever there was a fight in the house, we would solve it democratically through a family court system. We would all gather in the kitchen. One person would be a lawyer for one side, one person would be a lawyer for the other side, one person would be a judge, and we would just argue it out. And that's how I grew up, and I thought that was normal. And years later, I became a lawyer, and my mom still wonders why. So to honor all of the opportunity that this country gave my family, I dedicated my life to public service. I became a civil rights lawyer, standing up for vulnerable workers and for women who weren't being paid a fair wage. Later, I became the Director of Immigration Affairs for the state of New York, helping immigrant New Yorkers navigate American courtrooms and the justice system. Finally, I left to run for the state legislature. I ran against an 11-year incumbent. People told me, "You're a nice girl, but you have no chance." But we won. And not only did we win, but we won by the largest margin of any challenger in the state that cycle, by a margin of 27 percentage points. And through it all, my Hindu faith guided me. I meditate every day by saying the ancient Sanskrit words of the Gayatri Mantra. I focused because my dad always told me to focus like Arjuna in the Mahabharata. he told me the story of the Pandav brothers who all tried to shoot a bird with their bows and arrows. Only Arjuna was successful. Why? Because he saw only the eye of the bird. My dad always told me that in the Ramayana, Ram could not defeat Ravan alone. He needed friends and allies like Hanuman and the army of monkeys and bears. Learning from this, I seek friends and allies because only together can we make real change. And I pray to the great goddess Durga. She showered me with her blessings, and that is why I succeeded and became the state assemblywoman. But most of all, I have always been touched by the deep tolerance and love embedded in Hindu faith. As a Hindu American, I was always taught that God is Om, and that Om can take many forms. God can be Krishna, God can be Goddess Lakshmi, the Goddess Durga, or Ganesha. God can also take the form of Jesus. God can take the form of Allah. As a Hindu, I adopt other faiths as my own. As a Hindu, if anyone comes from my Muslim, Jewish, or Christian brothers and sisters, they will have to get through me first. I love them like myself. In my race for the state legislature, I won across all demographics, ethnicities, and faiths. And part of the reason is that as a Hindu, I love other faiths like my own. I am not the only American inspired by Hindu principles of love, tolerance, and nonviolence. Martin Luther King Jr., one of our country's greatest civil rights heroes, writing his letter from a Birmingham jail, showed his deep influence from Gandhi and Hindu philosophy. India's Gandhi was the guiding light of our technique of nonviolence and social change, he said. Martin Luther King was a Christian and said he connected the Hindu thinker's nonviolent philosophy to the biblical teachings of Jesus, who said you should love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. America's very first civil disobedience movement was actually Alice Paul, and it was the Americans' women's suffrage movement that she led. Alice Paul was arrested for campaigning for the right of American women to vote. She was imprisoned and launched a hunger strike that followed the similar kind of teachings from Gandhi and Martin Luther King. And at that time, on the front page of the New York Times, there was a story that said, Alice Paul has not eaten for 72 hours. She will now be forcibly fed. And due to the pressure of the movement that she led, the United States passed the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, and American women have now been voting for 101 years. President John F. Kennedy and Gandhi actually both shared the belief that faith should be a part of the political discourse. The separation of church and state is essential and critical to government, and that is why it is enshrined in the First Amendment of our Constitution. But it is also true that every individual brings their faith and their unique set of values to the public square. JFK and Gandhi both understood that faith and politics are inextricably linked. I would therefore like to propose that as Hindu Americans, we contribute our beautiful dharmic light to the country and spread our dharmic light, including the love, tolerance, and belief in service embedded in our faith across the country. Hindu Americans have so much to offer. As the first Hindu American elected to government office in New York, I am proud to announce I issued a proclamation declaring October Hindu Heritage and Awareness Month in the state of New York. I also introduced a bill in our state legislature to make Diwali a school holiday in New York City. But most of all, like a true Hindu, I commit every day to the life of the Karma Yogi, uplifting vulnerable New Yorkers, promoting healthcare for all, helping young people by creating the best educational systems possible, and supporting veterans who put their lives on the line for our country. The launch tonight of the Hindu Democratic Coalition for the Democratic Party will be a great service to our country. Thank you so much. God bless America and God bless the Democratic Party.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Rajkumar, for the kind remarks and for sharing your life story with us and for supporting this initiative. It is now my honor to introduce Virginia Delegate Suhas Subramanyam. Suhas has dedicated his life to serving his community and solving some of our country's biggest challenges. Suhas has since worked tirelessly to improve the health and prosperity of all Virginians and Americans. He served on Capitol Hill as a healthcare and veterans policy aide, where he worked to expand and improve healthcare access to millions of Americans, and drafted legislation to increase job opportunities and funding for veterans. He earned his law degree with honors at Northwestern University School of Law, and Suhas was named a White House technology policy advisor to President Obama. He led a task force on technology policy that President Obama charged. He's a proud resident of Loudoun County and maintains his commitment to serving his community. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Nikki and Murli and Priya and everyone who's putting this together. My name is Suhas Subramanyam, and hello from Northern Virginia. We're only a few weeks away from a critical election here, and so this is a very timely event. And 2 years ago, I became the first Hindu American in 400 years to be elected at any level in Virginia, state or federal. And that was not an accident. You see, about 40 years ago, a wave of immigrants from South Asia and other parts that were Hindu heavy came to Virginia. They were welcomed by immigration policies that Democrats helped champion. And my parents came, their port of entry was Dulles Airport, which is just down the street in my district. And with them, they never thought that they would ever have a seat at the table or that their community would ever be able to have a say or a voice. But the Democratic Party has helped them and helped all Hindu Americans with having a voice and having a seat at the table, because it's been Democrats who have stood up for immigration and immigrants. It's been Democrats who've always been there for equality, for empathy, for understanding. And it's always been Democrats who have reflected the values of Hinduism in the Hindu community. And that's why my family, when I was growing up, I was taught values that were Democratic values, and it was a very easy transition to being a Democrat. But really, the call to service for me was ensuring that every single person had a voice in Virginia and in the General Assembly, and making sure that our community, our Hindu community, their voice was not drowned out either. It was Hindu Americans in the temples, in the pujas who I went to, and all over our community who helped knock doors, helped get out the vote, and helped me get elected in 2019. And it's going to be Hindu Americans who help Virginia stay blue in 2021, because we have a big voice. And unfortunately, this is a very, very close election in what people think is a blue state, but really it's much closer. But because of all that you are doing, and because of nights like tonight, I'm very optimistic about the future of not just Virginia, but the whole country, and for all Hindu Americans, because I am so proud of all the people who are on this call, and so proud of all the people who have supported me. We have gone so far in so little time over the past even 5 years, and the future is very bright. So thank you for being here. I think tonight's going to spark a huge, huge movement, and I'm proud to be just one small part of it.
Thank you so much, Delegate Suhas Subramanyam. Thank you so much for sharing your remarks with us today and for being here with us for the launch of the Hindu Democratic Coalition. Thank you to all of our speakers today. We appreciate the time you took to spend to share your remarks with us and help us kick off the Hindu Democratic Coalition on such an auspicious day. We are also grateful to all of our viewers for joining us today. We hope that you will continue to follow us and attend future events. If you've liked what you heard today and are interested in signing up to volunteer, please fill out the form at https://bit.ly/HDC volunteer, which you can also see in the banner below me. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as either Hindu Americans for Biden or Hindu Democratic Coalition. We will be launching our website soon, so please stay tuned for that and keep an eye out. With that, I would like to end with the closing mantra and also wish everyone a very happy Vijayadashami. The translation for this mantra is, may all be happy, may all be free from illness, may all see what is auspicious, may no one suffer, peace, peace, peace. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Paschantu, Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste and Shubhratri.